So in the last lesson, we created a couple of variables and constants and some print statements to display some information onto the console. In this next video, we're going to look at how to call a function, how to assign the value of a function to a constant, look at how Swift uses if-else statements, and how to get information from multiple files. So let's go ahead and start doing that. So let's go ahead and add some more information to our file. I'm going to go ahead and add another print statement. And what is your name? And then I'm going to make a constant let name, so we know name is going to be constant, equal getLn, or G-E-T-L-N with parentheses. And getLn is what we call a helper function. So things like print functions are built right into Swift. GetLn is not. That's why we actually have this extra file called helper functions. If we look at this for a second, we can see that this function has another function called getLn. And this symbol right here means return. So we know that it's going to return a string. Okay, so this helper function is going to return, I guess, some input from whatever the user types in. And when it returns it, we are going to assign it to the constant name. So after we get that, let's use that value to print something out to the user. So we'll say print, nice to meet you. And then again, backslash name. My name is Eliza. I'm an old friend of Siri. Okay, so we've got that line, and it's just going to print out a little greeting to our user. And again, remember, this function is going to get information from the console and return whatever that value is to this constant name. Let's go ahead and run that. And again, if I want to interact with the console, it's Shift-Command-C. And again, you see the cursor is automatically put down there. I'll say Brian. And it says, nice to meet you, Brian. My name is Eliza. I'm an old friend of Siri. So that seems to work exactly as we want. Okay. Now, let's get some more information from our user. Let's do print. Let's go on an adventure. And let's give the person the opportunity to choose a planet to visit. So again, I just typed in a question for the user to answer, and now I need to get that response back. So I'm going to make another constant, and I'm going to use my helper function getLn again. So this helper function is going to return whatever the user typed in as a string and assign it to this constant. So now let's look at how to use an if-else statement. So again, kind of like in Python, if you remember, I can type the keyword if, decision, and again I'm going to use two equals because it's a comparison operator. So if it equals yes. Now the one thing that's different is that in Swift and many other languages, the body of a function or an if-else statement is implemented with curly braces. So it's above the square brackets above the return key. And notice if I type in the first one, Xcode will automatically complete the last one for you. So these curly braces are necessary for things like if statements and loops and functions. So if the decision is yes, they want to randomly choose one, they'll print a little statement. So I just printed out something for the user. So I'm just going to write myself a comment with a to-do statement. For to-do, I'm going to travel to random planet. And that to-do reminds me that at some point I'm going to have to implement the rest of that code so I can actually travel to a random planet. And then I'm going to say else. And again, I use the curly brace, print, okay. Name the planet you would like to visit. And then again, I'm not going to implement it right now, but I'm going to put a to-do to remind me that I need to do this at some point. So again, if the user returns yes or Y, I'll print okay, traveling here. Otherwise, I'll say okay, name the planet you want to visit. Let's go ahead and run that. See what that does. What is your name? I'm going to do Shift Command C to get to the console. My name is Brian. Shall I randomly choose a planet? I'll put N, and it says okay. Then you name the planet. Let's run it one more time to make sure that both values succeed. I'll put yes this time, or Y, and again the Y value was selected. So we've looked at how to get input from the user using a helper function. And again, one thing you should be aware of is that this helper function was written specifically for this project. If you wanted to use that in one of your own projects, you'd have to either use this file or write your own helper function that's not automatically included as part of Swift. We also looked at the syntax of if-else statements to have our program make a decision based on user input. And you can see we still have a couple extra things to do, like implementing this functionality, but also the functionality of what if the user doesn't put a Y or an N? What if they put something random? We need to be able to handle that input, which we'll do in a future lesson.